Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the How to Trade the New Touch Brackets with Longer Time Frame Price Patterns. My name is Gail, and I will be your presenter today. Now, before we get started, I would like everyone to take just a moment to read over the Nadex risk disclaimer. It is for your protection as well as ours. And basically, anytime you're trading, there is a potential to lose money, and you should never trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. Good morning. Now, for those of you that do not know me, my name is Gail Mercer. I'm the founder of TradersHelpDesk.com. I have more than 15 years of trading experience. I actually started out with a company that programmed indicators and actually just fell in love with price bars. I do specialize in price action, volume analysis, and divergence because I believe they are leading indicators. I'm also a frequent contributor to Stocks and Commodities, Traders World, and Top Shelf Magazine. I've also been a speaker at Traders Expo, Traders World Online Expo, and the Wyckoff Volume Conference. I'm also the author of Trading Nadex Binary Options and Spread Using Candlestick Patterns, Trading Nadex Binary Options Using Currencies, Trading Nadex Binary Options Keeping It Simple Strategies, as well as the New Trader's Guide to Trading Nadex Binary Options and Spreads. Any of these can be purchased on Amazon. Now today, we're going to be talking about what touch brackets are. We're going to be discussing simple price patterns, identifying the price patterns on the higher time frames or longer time frames, and identifying the touch brackets to use with the price patterns, okay? So the first question is, what are touch brackets? Has anybody in the room actually traded the touch brackets yet? I'm just curious here. I absolutely love them. I think they're the best thing that's been invented since butter for my bread, okay? You really need to give them a shot. They're absolutely phenomenal, okay? Now, what they are is it's a way to trade today's markets, because right now we're getting a lot of volatility in the market. We have the Brexit. We just came out of the government shutdown. We have the trade wars. And the markets are just really responding, and there's a lot of volatility in there. So touch brackets are an excellent way to trade these markets. Now, you've got two main components, okay? You have a floor price, which is always on the left. It's the first price on the touch bracket. And then you have the ceiling price, which is always on the right-hand side. So you have the floor price, that's the first price, and then you have the ceiling price, which is the second one, okay? If price touches either the floor or the ceiling, then the trading, it ends, okay? It's just like as if the contract expired immediately, okay? That's one way to look at it. Although technically it does not expire, it's the same result. You're out of the trade, okay? That's my point. You will be out of the trade. Now, let's say that you're going long, okay? Then the floor is going to limit your risk. Now, remember what I just said. The floor is always the first number, which is on the left-hand side. The ceiling is the second number, which is on the right-hand side. So this is the floor, and this is the ceiling, okay? Now, if you are going long, the floor is going to limit your risk, okay? If you are long, the ceiling will limit your profits, okay? Does everybody understand that? You have to understand that concept if you're going to trade the touch brackets. Now, your risk, if you are long, is your entry price minus the floor price, okay? If your profit potential is the ceiling price minus the entry price, okay? Now, each increment, and it should not be point, it should be increment, is valued at $1, okay? Now, this will change according to what you trade. For example, the Wall Street 30, which is based on the underlying Dow Jones, it moves in points, okay? One increment is 1 point. So each point is $1. Whereas the NASDAQ moves in 0.25 increments on the underlying, okay? That means for 1 point on the NASDAQ is $4 either in risk or profit. Does everybody understand that? The ES, same way. There's 4 increments to a point. The Russell, 10 increments to a point. In forex, you don't have points. You have pips, okay? So a full pip in movement equals $1. Does everybody understand the way that moves? Now, if you're short, the floor will limit your profit and the ceiling will limit your risk. Okay, a good way to remember this if you're new to trading, okay, if you're long, what do you anticipate the market to do? You anticipate it to go up, okay? So you want to buy down here at the bottom, right? Whereas if you're short, what is your anticipation? You're selling the market and you expect the market to go down. So this is where you want to limit your risk. Okay? So this would be the ceiling. This will be the floor. And this is the thing that most traders actually, I think, have the most difficulty understanding is, okay, are you going to sell the floor or are you going to buy it? Okay? Well, you always want to buy the floor and sell the ceiling, okay? Now, I say that just overall, okay? Very seldom would you want to enter a touch bracket right at the floor. Does anybody know why? Let's say that, okay, here you have 64.90 is just the floor. Let's say that price is trading at 64.91. Okay, would it be a good idea to buy this floor? No, because what's going to happen if it moves down 1 point to 64.90? Then you have lost on that trade. You're knocked out of it. That is absolutely correct. There's no room for the natural market flow. I love that answer, Leonard. Because you're absolutely right. You have not allocated room for this to move, okay? So you don't really want to buy at the floor, okay? But you want price to be close to the floor, okay? You want it to be closer to the floor versus the ceiling, okay? Does everybody understand that? Did I confuse you or did you understand? Okay. All right, so let me take all of these off and go to the next slide. Okay, so this is an example, okay? And I don't really too much worry about calculating the price, whether it's on risk or whether it's on profit, because when you enter the market, when you pull up the ticket, take the time to read the ticket, okay? In this case, if you were to buy, okay, you see that the buy is highlighted, okay? And the price is at 62.52. Now, notice that my price is at 62.50, okay? So if I buy this, here's your maximum loss, $122, okay? What is your max profit? It tells you right here, $478. How close to the floor is this instrument right now? Well, you can see that the indicative is at 62.50 and the floor is at 62.22. So you have almost 30 points between where the floor is and where the price is. Okay? So you have a lot of information on your order ticket, but you need to take a moment and read the ticket. Okay? Now, the really cool thing about these is that they expire on Fridays. Okay? So you have the whole week to trade these. Okay? What happens when price moves above a ceiling or below a floor? A new touch bracket opens. And I think this is really cool because when you start looking at them, normally on Sunday, you'll see touch bracket 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? This is on Sunday. They all start 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I know that this is on Friday because it only has 6 hours and 54 minutes. Okay? So from Sunday until Friday, you now have 46, 47, 48. Remember, it started at the number 1. Do y'all see that? So that tells me the market really moved a lot because, hey, you're up to touch bracket number 48. Do y'all understand that? The more volatile the market is, more than likely the more touch brackets that you're going to have. So if you started looking, let's say on a Wednesday afternoon, and you're still seeing that there's 4 touch brackets, you probably haven't had a lot of volatility in that market. When they first open, Virgil, they start with touch bracket number 1. Okay. Let me go over and look real quick. I don't know. All right. If you have your Nadex platform open right now, go to touch brackets and look at USD JPY. Okay. They're still on the original 4 touch brackets. Okay. Because we haven't had a lot of volatility in the USD JPY this week. So you still have TB1, TB2, TB3, TB4. Okay. That just tells me there has not been a lot of volatility in that market. Okay. If you go over and look at the British pound dollar, you have touch bracket 9. Okay. So it's already on the 9th touch bracket. Do y'all understand that? So the British pound dollar has been more volatile than the USD JPY. That's what it's telling you just by looking at how many touch brackets there are. Any questions on that? Okay. Any questions on the touch brackets? Because I don't want to continue if you still have questions on the touch brackets. Because now we're going to go into really simple price patterns. And I use these price patterns in a lot of different ways. But I love them with the touch brackets. If you use a market order, Stan, if the market changes, then, it changes your price. I like to know exactly what price I'm getting in at. Because you could, especially in a volatile market, what if that price jumps 10 points? Well, you're getting in 10 points higher than you thought. As the number goes up or down, how do you know if the movement was more up or more down? Are you talking about on the touch bracket, Virgil? Because in that case, you know, I'm not considering whether it was more up or more down. That's where you have to go to your chart analysis. Okay. The fact that it's moving is what I want to see. Okay. What does the indicative price do? Everything in Nadex uses the indicative price index. Okay. So you want the indicative price index to get to the floor or get to the ceiling, depending on whether you're long or short. So how do you make money using touch brackets? We haven't gotten into that yet. So if a touch bracket is touched, then the contract expired. More or less, yes, KM. It's going to bring you out of the trade if you were in it. I have trouble getting GTC for filled. You know, sometimes they won't get filled, and that's when you have to decide, do I want to change the price or do I not want in the trade? And sometimes I just don't want in the trade. That's where you have to, you know, kind of reanalyze, Stan. Do you want to change your price, or do you want to say, well, I'm really not interested in paying a higher price for it? Any other questions on the touch brackets? So you can watch another chart source and still follow the Nadex chart movement. Well, I always use another platform. I only trade through Nadex. I don't rely on their charts because I'm looking at the underlying. Okay. Or we charge the dollar fee when a long position hits the floor, losing position. I'm not really sure. I think you are, Enrique. If I bought near the bottom of the T bracket, why would someone want to sell it to me since their profit would be so small? If I bought near the bottom of the T bracket, why would someone want to sell it to me since their profit would be so small? The people, well, number one, it's the market makers that's offering that to you, Chuck, and they're not concerned with making a huge profit. They're there for liquidity. That's their purpose, is to provide liquidity to us. We're taking advantage of the market makers in essence. What happens if the price doesn't touch the ceiling or the floor by the end of Friday? That's where you're going to look at the indicative price index, and where it expires is what determines your profit or your loss. What charts do I use? TradingView and multi-charts. Are the brackets following a moving average or price as an average? They do have an average that they use, Michael. And if you go to the Nadex.com website, you can read how they determine the indicative index. I find that it is very, very close to what I'm seeing on the underlying, so I don't really worry about it anymore. Let's see. Any other questions before I start on the price patterns? Now, again, these are really simplistic price pattern, guys. Okay. We're going to be going over triangles, ascending and descending, double tops and double bottoms. Now, why did I choose these particular price patterns? Okay. Because it's a good starting place for you if you want to look at price patterns. Okay. For example, a triangle is also going to have either a double top or a double bottom. Okay. So they just all kind of work together, which is why I wanted to focus on these specific price patterns. Now, a triangle, a ascending triangle will have equal highs but higher lows. And a descending triangle will have lower highs and equal lows. Okay. Then you have double tops and double bottoms. And that just means that they're equal. Okay. Now, this is an ascending triangle. And I believe this was on the NASDAQ. Unfortunately, it doesn't show me. But anyway, I think it was on the NASDAQ because I like trading the NASDAQ. Here, you see you're making equal highs. It started over here. And let me get my pen. This is where it actually started. Came back to test over here. Now, this is important because you need a minimum of 2 points, okay? That means you need 2 highs or 2 lows, okay, to start connecting the lines, okay? Now, you had 2 highs, came back over here and tested again, okay? Now, it doesn't have to be exact on this high, but when you look at it, you have to see that, hey, we're pretty much making equal highs here. Then you start looking at the lows. You have a low here, you have a low here, you have a low here. And as you can see, each one of these are higher, okay? If you take the high of this area, which is 24.33, and you take that first low, which is at 1980, that's 453 points. That's your projection, okay? Now, it has to break out of this area, and this is the 24.33 area, okay? This is the high. So if you draw a line that is 453 points from that, then you will get 2886. This is your projection area. In other words, it should move up to this green line. Do y'all understand that? Any questions on that? Now, to me, these would have been double top areas, okay? So anytime I see a potential for double tops, then I'm looking at the lows. Also notice that this trend line is upward, okay? It's very important. If you can't remember, okay, should this go up or should this go down, look at your trend line, okay? This is going up. So it's telling you it's an ascending triangle. Price should go up. Any questions? Now, descending is actually the opposite of an ascending triangle, okay? Descending means it's going to go down. And this is on the USD JPY, okay? Now, in this one, you have a low here, a low here, and a low here, okay? So if you connect this, this gives you that horizontal line. Then if you start looking at the highs, there's a high here, and then a high here. I was actually drawing the trend line off of this high, okay? Because I had already noticed, you know, this is a low, okay? It has formed this high. More than likely, it's going to come back to this low. Does everybody understand that? Now, if you take the high of the area, subtract it from the low, okay, that's going to give you the actual move, okay? In this case, it was 195 pips. So the projection line was down here at 110.36. And that's a substantial move down. It really is. I wish it did that every day. And it actually did hit that. I thought I had captured it, but we did actually hit that because I was in a touch bracket on that one. Now, on the double tops, okay? Double tops are really easy for me because I have an indicator that just plots the high, okay? And anytime it comes back and it tests that high, but it closes under it, okay, that's called a rejection, okay? That means that they don't have enough power to close above it. Normally, it will at least go down and take out the previous low, okay? Now, this is usually a bearish bar, okay? It could be a green bar, just like it was over here, okay? What is important is that it closes below that first original high, okay? That's what's key, okay? To me, this is still a bearish bar, even though it has the green there, okay? One reason it's a pin bar, okay? And it's still showing a rejection from this high over here. Does everybody understand that? Any questions on that? And these are really good entry points using the touch bracket, okay? I love using them on the touch brackets. Okay, what about double bottoms? Well, double bottoms are just the opposite of a double top, okay? If we extend the line from the low, okay, this is the low. We extend the line. Do you see the rejection here? That's a bullish bar. They're rejecting the low, okay? They're rejecting the low, okay? Anytime they come back, they're rejecting it, okay? Up here, you can see this is a bearish bar. But do you see how they closed up here from this low? They're showing you that they're rejecting it. Now, typically, when you get a rejection like this, they'll come back and test it again over here, because they want to make sure, you know, it's really going to hold. This is support in resistance trading at its finest. Does everybody understand that? Any questions on this? Well, sometimes you'll have a wick on the candle, sometimes you won't. So, you know, I don't necessarily do it just by the wick. Is there a time frame we have to use? Any time frame you want to. I like, because remember, the touch brackets do not expire until Friday. That means that you can capture more of the move by using the touch brackets, okay? So usually I'm looking at 60 minutes, 120 minutes, a daily. I mean, I'm going with a higher time frame, just expecting the move to occur, okay? Well, okay, Michael, let's say that, okay, you're already making higher lows here, correct? You go on to make a higher high here. Now, this is the very basic definition of what? An uptrend, okay? An uptrend is equal to higher lows and higher highs. That is the definition of an uptrend, right? So let's say that there was a touch bracket that was available right in here. I would actually want it to be lower than this, okay? Right in between here. I'm looking to go long on that touch bracket. Does that answer your question, Michael? And usually I'm entering on the bullish bar. So this is my entry point, and my Floor would be down here. Okay. How do you get out of the touch bracket early? You just create an order to exit, just like you would anything else in Nadex. Pull it up and, just click on your position. It will automatically, if you're long, it will automatically have the sale highlighted. Put in the price that you want to exit, and that's it. The order entry system doesn't change just because it's a touch bracket. If you can enter a binary, if you know how to do that, then you know how to enter a ticket on the touch brackets. None of that changed. Any other questions on that? Now, what are some of the pitfalls of trading these price patterns? There's pitfalls to everything, and price patterns is no exception. Okay. Typically, your risk is going to be higher when you're trading the price patterns. Okay. You also have to hold overnight. Now, if you're holding overnight and you're trading futures or you're trading forex, you're going to have a higher margin, number one. If you're holding through on forex, well, they're going to increase the pip spread. Okay, that's one thing. And the other thing is volatility. The more extreme the volatility gets, the more the pip spread increases, and the more likely it is that your stop may be jumped over. Okay. This is why I like using the touch brackets. Okay. Now, if you're combining the touch brackets with the price patterns, they can't jump over the touch bracket. Okay. If this is the ceiling of the touch bracket, I had to make sure I was saying the right word here. If the ceiling is right here, okay, then they can't jump over it. If it trades up and hits this, or if it is, if they do go 112.84, okay, then guess what? You're out of that trade. Okay. Now, in this case, this is the one I was telling you about on the USD JPY. Now, everything that I've told you, you can actually see right here on this ticket. Okay, this is touch bracket 6. Okay, there is 23 hours and 55 minutes on this touch bracket. Okay, that's a full day, which tells me more than likely this occurred on a Thursday. Okay, so this is the pattern that I showed you that was developing on the USD JPY. The entry price was at 112.50. The ceiling price was 112.82. That was $32 of risk. Okay. Now, the expiration was Friday at 3 p.m. The bottom of the touch bracket was 110.32, right down here. Okay. That gave you a profit potential of $218. Any questions on that? Is it normal to stay in the original bracket till Friday unless the market experiences volatility? I haven't seen one where you stayed in the bracket until Friday, Michael. But now I haven't always been in every single touch bracket they offered. But generally, I think you would probably go through the 4 brackets. It's not a given, but I think typically you would. Maybe during the summer when it's slow, maybe. I don't know. We haven't traded them in a summertime environment yet. Yes, the 218 potential profit would be if price went to the floor of the bracket. Absolutely. Any other questions on this one? This is what actually happened, okay? All right. It actually came down to 111.30. Do you see that double pattern, double bottom there? I exited, and my exit price was at 111.30. So I risked $32 to make 120. My risk to reward was 1 to 3.75. That's why I like the touch brackets. How new are the touch brackets? Extremely new. I think they first started being offered in the live account in January. They were offered in the demo environment in December. Now, it could have been late December that they started offering them in the live account. I actually remember January for some reason. If the bracket touches the ceiling but closes in the bracket, are you out as soon as it touches? It is not based on close. It is based on touch, which is why they called it touch brackets. So if it reaches up there and it touches, you're out. If it reaches down and touches, you're out. Could you explain the entry trigger from the pattern quickly again? It was a descending triangle. Any other questions on this one? What happens if it expires and does not touch? That's where your indicative price comes in, okay? The indicative price is used at expiration to determine what the profit or loss was. Well, you have to be able to spot these on the what I call the live edge of the market, which is the right-hand screen. Show an example of what, Virgil? I don't have any. I mean, I can't bring it up and show it to you because you'd have to wait until Friday to see it. But let's say that this was Friday and that the indicative was at 111.30. Okay. If this was Friday, okay, at 3 p.m., okay, then it's going to be 111.30. Okay. And your profit would be $120, which is a risk to reward of 1 to 3.75. Any other questions on this? Nadex is always based on Eastern Standard Time, which is New York time. Always. You could live in Hawaii, okay? But if you're trading Nadex, look at New York time because everything is based on New York time. Any other questions on this one? On forex, it expires at 3 p.m. New York time. And actually, the market is open until 5:15. Okay. And forex can continue to move between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. Okay. And so if it hits a floor or ceiling between that time, then the trade is exited. What are my favorite instrument for brackets, Mike? Probably the British pound dollar, the euro dollar, the NASDAQ, the ES, the Russell. You do not place a stop loss with touch brackets, okay? They do not have stops. This is your stop, okay? In this case, it was the ceiling right here. It's built in. If price, I think I entered somewhere around here is where I entered, okay? If price had went up here and touched this line, I would be out. That's the same thing a stop is. But this security expires Friday at 3 p.m. New York time. Exactly. It's forex. The expiration time on a touch bracket that is based on forex is 3 p.m. New York time on Friday afternoon. On the indices, it is Friday at 4:15 p.m. What is my favorite chart time frames for brackets? I don't have a favorite one. You know, I like to see sort of like a duplication, Mike, of what I'm seeing on a higher time frame. I'll show you one on the euro dollar in just a minute. Any other questions? As long as it does not touch either the floor or the ceiling, you stay in the trade. That is absolutely correct, George. If we place a buy at 112.5, is it work as a stop loss? On what? I was going short here. If I don't understand your question. Because if you are short right here, okay, which is pretty much where I entered at, and then you place a buy here, you're going to be out of the trade because they're going to feel that. They can be triggered overnight, Mike, if you set a target, but they can also be triggered when technically Nadex is closed between 5 to 6 p.m. Okay. Everybody knows Nadex closes from 5 to 6 p.m. New York time every day. That's when they do all of their, what I call paperwork. Okay. So if you're trading forex, okay, and between this time, let's say between 5 to 6 p.m., it came down here and hit 110.32, then that trade would have been exited, okay? Because forex will still move between this time period. Brokers are not open, but forex still moves. Whereas on the index side, okay, from 5:15 up to 6 o'clock, It is closed. There is no price movement on the indices, so that will not happen on the indices. Does everybody understand that? And again, this is something I'm very used to watching, is this indicative price. Okay. If you're trading Nadex, that indicative price is the most important thing on my chart. Okay. Because that's what's going to determine, okay, was the ceiling touched? Was the floor touched? That's what's going to determine that, guys. Okay. So you have to watch the indicative. Will I be able to set a buy or sell limit? Sure. No, there is price movement between 5 to 6 p.m. on forex, but there is no price movement on the indices between 5:15 and 6 p.m. And KM, your chart might not show that price movement, but remember, forex does not have an exchange. Okay? So it can actually still move, even though your broker is closed. If you enter and exit with a profit, is the cost only the entry and exit fee? Yes, Virgil. You don't have a pip spread on this. Not as a cost of like a commission. We only pay an exchange fee because Nadex is an exchange. Any other questions on this one? Where can we find a list of available bracket instruments? Well, I'll tell you, the euro dollar, British pound dollar, USD Swiss franc, USD JPY, the US 500, which is the ES, uses the underlying ES. US small cap, E-mini Russell 2000 is the underlying. US Tech 100, the NASDAQ, E-mini NASDAQ is the underlying, and then the Wall Street 30, which is the Dow, E-mini Dow underlying. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I hope they expand them. They're really cool to trade. Okay. Now, this works on all of the time frames. It doesn't matter the time frames. I know everybody gets all consumed with a particular time frame. There is no one time frame that this works on. It depends on what type of trader you are, basically. Okay. They work on weeklies, dailies, hourlies, minutes. I mean, if you traded Renko or tick charts, it would do the same. Looking indices touch bracket, no levels at all. Jeffrey, are you in demo? Okay, it might be just the demo. On the indices, I have my live account open, and let's see, the US 500 is currently at touch bracket 12, so it's got 4, 8, 11, and 12 open. On the US small cap 2000, you have 2, 3, 4, and 10 open. On the US Tech 100, you have touch bracket 5, touch bracket 13, touch bracket 14, touch bracket 16. And on the Wall Street, you have touch bracket 11, touch bracket 16, 17, and 18. In the future, would love to see if we can add brackets for crude, natural gas, and gold. If I have any influence in Nadex, I'll let them know, Mike. Now, in summary, if you look for price patterns on the higher time frames, okay, and to me that means 60-minute and above, okay, after identifying the price pattern, you look for a bracket that correlates with your setup. Remember, the touch brackets expire if touched, so avoid brackets that are too close to price, okay? After entry, you can relax knowing you will not get a margin call or lose more than what you paid when you entered the trade, okay? Now, for those of you that would like to visit my website, it is www.tradershelpdesk.com. You can always email me at gm@tradershelpdesk.com. Now, I want to see if I can show you the one I'm currently in. It's actually on the euro. Okay. Do you see how, okay, there's a small blue line here. Came back to test it here. Okay. Now, this is the beginning of a double bottom. Okay. So I snap my line on it. Do you see how you have the highs here? Okay. Do you see how the line is going down? This is on a weekly chart. You have the same formation over here on the daily chart. In addition to that, this is just something that I like to see because I like using the stochastics. You have an stochastics that's indicating the market is potentially overbought. Do you see that? So I did a touch bracket on this, and give me a minute. I'll have to get where it's at. The touch bracket that I did on this was 1.1209, okay, to 1.1459. Now, was I long or short, guys? Any guesses? What direction is the trend line going? It's going down, so I'm short, okay? Absolutely correct. I am short, okay? And my average price, which is the price that I entered at, was 1.1433, which means I had a total risk of $26 per contract. Does everybody understand that? Any questions on that? Now, I can zoom in even more, okay, by going down to a 60-minute chart. And we have the same pattern here on the 60-minute chart. You have a double bottom pattern right here. This is what I call a micro. Okay. Let's see if I can expand it some and you can see it better. Do you see we made a low here, came back and tested here, came back and tested here? Okay. So this is the bottom. And of course you had descending highs. The blue line represents my entry price. And this is my floor level. Does everybody understand it now? There's always going to be 4 touch brackets, okay? There's not going to be more than 4 opened at one time. You have 4 when either the floor or the ceiling of one is touched, you get a new one. Now, Chuck, look at, it says TB, and then it has a number. Look at that number, okay? Because remember, it started out touch bracket 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you mean the floor and the ceiling are based on weekly? The expiration, George, is a weekly. But again, if the floor or the ceiling is touched, then a new bracket opens up. They have a free version of TradingView, Leonard. And then, you know, they have like a pro version and a premium version. You don't transfer to a new bracket, Michael. If the floor or the ceiling is touched, you are out of the trade. RD, that is absolutely correct. Find a pattern on the weekly, verify on the daily in 1 hour, then find an order that fits best in trade orders. Can you practice a Nadex demo? You most certainly can. I practiced as soon as the touch brackets opened up in demo, I started practicing, Michael. Well, then you create another entry on the using a new touch bracket, Michael. Hold on just a moment. Give me just a second, guys. I use the touch brackets quite a bit, okay? I have a lot of videos on touch brackets on my YouTube, Jeffrey. I showed people how to use them yesterday. It's about an hour and a half long. And then I did a follow-up because I actually did one in my live account yesterday. When is it not advisable to enter into a touch? And that it is a weekly one, can be late if you say entered into a touch today. I don't understand that question, Leonard. If you could rephrase it. You can rewatch the video, Michael. Hold on just a moment. Let me open up a demo. Give me just a minute, guys. If you'll give me a minute, I'm going to open up a demo. Oh, okay. Then I'll do that. Give me just a minute. Okay. I had to make sure that I could do this. Okay. This is the Nadex account. Now, this one happens to be my live account, so you can see that I actually have the euro position on. That's the one that I showed you, okay? Now, look at your touch brackets, okay? Do you see how it says TB18? All right, go over here to the USD JPY. Do you see how that has 4 touch brackets, guys? Okay, from Sunday, okay, until Wednesday, it has not moved through the original 4 touch brackets. Okay? It has not moved beyond the scope of those 4 touch brackets. Okay? Now, go over and look at the British pound dollar. Okay? Go over and look at the British pound dollar. Do you see how this is at touch bracket 9? So it went through 3 touch brackets, and now you have 4, 5, 6, and 9. Okay, touch brackets are weekly, so it's best to enter on Monday, but perhaps not worth it on Thursday and Friday. I would not agree with that statement, Leonard. It depends on what your chart is telling you, okay? You don't just enter a touch bracket because, oh, it's open on Sunday. It's when your chart tells you, okay, hey, this is a good point of entry, okay? Now, if you go back to what I was showing you, and I'm going to expand this so y'all can see, I went through the weekly, the daily, and then you can see over here, I mean, everything I've taught y'all today is on these charts right now. Here's your double top. Here's your ascending triangle. No, a descending triangle. See? Can't talk today. Here's your descending triangle. Here's your double top formation. Okay? If I extend this line out, it's testing it. 1, 2, 3, and it rejected it. Do y'all see that? Okay. Today is Wednesday, and I'm entering for the first time on the euro dollar today because this is when the pattern set up. Understand? Now, after I verified with the weekly, the daily, the 360, I come down to the 60. I see the same pattern on the 60. Look at where the ceiling is. Do you see how it's above this high? That was important to me. I did not want a touch bracket at 1450. I'd probably get stopped out of it. Okay? I wanted it above that area. This area has held. Okay? I mean, this is like the best thing in the world because you can see this area has been holding since January 29th, which was yesterday. Do you see that? Okay. It was important for me for that ceiling to be above that area. And then I only had $26 of risk. We have FOMC today. Okay, I'm going to let it run because if I get a 100 pip move off of FOMC, then I've made a 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio. That's trading. It depends, you know, given you have more experience than anyone, can you tell us how achievable the levels are for each bracket? How frequently are these levels reached? It seems volatility helps, so RTY probably better than ES and GU or UJ. It just depends, okay, Mike? Because if, you know, if you have listened to some of my other presentations where I have told you, you know, okay, when is the most volatile quarter on the indices, okay? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's October, November, December. Okay. When is the most volatile session for the forex? January, February, March. Okay. When is the second most volatile? Typically October, October, November, December. Okay. When is the second most volatile on the indices? January, February, March. These are just standards in the markets. Okay. It's just standard. I've been studying this for 15 years. Well, Benny, okay, I entered wait a minute and I'll tell you when I entered that. Okay. To me, if you're entering right now, you're probably late to the game. But that's just my opinion. Let's see, what was my trade time? I entered at 7:41 this morning. Okay. And you're doing 1509. Okay. Mine is 1459. Do you see that, Benny? Okay. So if I come back over here and let's look at these, okay, you're entering here where I entered here. You're going to have more risk because you're further away from price. So it's going to carry more risk on it. On the currencies, it's the one that I have on currencies. Now, again, this is because I'm reading my price pattern, okay? I have a bias, okay? You might have a different bias, okay? You might think, hey, FOMC, the announcement's going to come out. You have a bias to the upside, okay? Which one would you likely choose if you have a bias to the upside? Okay, look at where price is trading, the indicative, 1417, okay? That means if your bias is to the upside, you're probably going to choose this one. Do y'all see that? It just depends on what your bias is. I'm trading a descending triangle. So my bias is to the short side. What if you think, no, she's wrong, it's going up, okay? Then you do the top one, 1359. Understand? Which of your books list standards of the market? The one on currencies. Wait a minute, and I'll tell you what it is. I have to go back and refresh myself. Trading Nadex binary options using currencies. Let's see. I haven't printed it yet for indices. No particular reason. Okay, does entry time of day matter since we are just targeting levels? Maybe bid offer price varies by time of day. No, it actually really closely monitors or follows the underlying mic. I have traded some of these patterns using a 15-minute time frame. I mean, I just love them. I cannot stress this enough. It's my favorite style of trading because it's really light trading the underlying. All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the presentation. I do enjoy the Nadex Touch brackets. I hope y'all enjoy them just as much. I think they're just absolutely tremendous. Okay. What charting service do I like? I like TradingView because I can check it on my iPad no matter where I'm at. But I also do multi-charts because I do a lot of volume analysis too. Thanks, Jess. Oh, thank you, KM. I will, always.